Hey, what's up? I actually went live like 20 minutes ago and I've been struggling with this streaming equipment. Yep, the struggle is real out here. I was going to talk a little bit about mental health. I decided didn't really have enough to say. I didn't really want to really go down that path because honestly, I've been struggling with mental health myself. And sometimes you just don't want to talk about it. I do think that mental health is a huge problem, definitely. But today I want to talk about religion. I want to talk about people falling away from God. I actually had a conversation with my coworker. He will not be named. We'll just call him Bob. Have a conversation with my friend Bob at work and talking about how when people find God, they have this, they have this connection for a long, long period of time. And it's like, they're essentially born again. People become born again Christians. People find all kinds of different religions that people find, and they become essentially a different person. And a lot of times people end up falling away and falling back into old habits. And it's not something a lot of people talk about. A lot of people try to pretend and will go, they'll go to church every Sunday and pretend like nothing's wrong or that they're not falling away, but they're just doing, what they've been doing, right? And it's not something you really hear a lot of people talk about, but like, what is the reason, that you have, say, when you first become, like when I first essentially in my story found religion, spirituality, whatever you want to call it, because I'm not really religious. I had this connection that I cannot explain. It was, I was filled with light all the time. I was, happier than at any point ever been in my life. And then slowly over time, I'm not exactly sure why, you kind of fall away from that. You maybe fall back into old habits, old patterns of thinking, and you start to lose that connection. And that is not just with me, it's a lot of people that I've talked to. I get an opportunity to talk to a ton of people every single day at work. And, a lot of people, a lot of friends that I have share this exact same story, that they were once super connected and then they fall away. And I don't know if there's really a simple answer to this. Like personally, like the way that I view this is, I was talking to Bob the other day, and a lot of people think, oh, I fell back into completely old habits. But the fact is, if you were changed, if your mind was stretched by a new experience, you can never fully go back to that person that you were before. You may fall back into old habits. You may, be doing things that you shouldn't be doing, right? But that connection is still there. And whatever connection you want to call that, if you don't believe in God, that's fine. That's on you. You know what I mean? But something is out there. And I think that something exists regardless of what religion you want to believe in, regardless of what, spiritual teaching you want to go, whatever philosophy you want to read. And I think it exists as soon as you start to seek something higher than yourself. That connection is restored and you have this, you fill up with light essentially. But it's really easy to fall back away from that because say you're doing a habit that is wrong. That means you're allowing the negative into your life and allowing that negative to win. So this is my theory. This is why I think that this happens. And the more you make excuses for that negative habit, and before anybody comes up with the who defines what negative is, what negative is. What it is that you're not supposed to be doing in your experience. A lot of people try to pass that off as, oh, who gets to define what negative? That's you. Like if for instance, that you're not supposed to be, cheating on your significant other, and you do that, that's a freaking negative habit. If you're not supposed to be watching porn because you decided you weren't going to watch porn, you're watching it, that's a negative habit. If you ain't supposed to be drinking and you decide to go get drunk, that's a negative thing. The list goes on and on. It may seem obvious to some people, but some people are just not very intelligent. It's okay. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that I'm super intelligent or the brightest bulb in the pack. I'm just sharing my experience. You know what I mean? Because I spent a lot of times, like a lot of people, I spent a lot of time reading comments online, and people out there are just crazy sometimes, bro. That's the truth. And it's just interesting to me communicating with people and hearing about how people fall away. Like for a little bit, I actually was going to a Baptist church, and this is shortly after my daughter passed. I felt like I needed to go to heaven. I said, this is how I felt because I was in mourning essentially. So I felt like I needed to go to heaven. I feel like that was the way I needed to go, was apparently going to a Baptist church, which is like as far into the religious field as you can really go. And it's like really fundamental and definitely not me. That's, I've realized pretty quickly that this is not my group of people. I'm not knocking anybody who is, believes in that way. That's just not for me. You know what I mean? But like I was going to this church all the time and they just had really, really strict viewpoints on a lot of things. And I don't like it came to it, I had a falling out with it essentially. I essentially stopped going because of something the pastor said I disagreed with. It was more or less that God's part of God's plan was my daughter to die, and I may not understand it, but that was part of God's plan. And I was like, well, okay, I'm just going to stop coming to church. And it's one of those things that I didn't, vibe well with what the person was saying. But long story short, after a few years of destroying myself with various drugs, alcohol, I found spirituality again, essentially. So these things were always there. Like I have slowly but surely found it, lost it, found it, lost it, found it, lost it in my life many times. When I was younger, teenager, I was devout, a devout Christian. All I did was read the Bible because I needed something in my life that was positive, bro, because I didn't have a positive life. Like I was getting bullied at school. I was getting, at home, I was getting not treated so well. My parents were always fighting. Parents were always drunk. Like my story was not good. You know what I mean? And so I needed something. And that's what it ends up being a lot of the times, is that you need something to lean on. And that is perfectly okay. And again, over time, I've found other things that I've used to cope. After a little bit, I found alcohol when I was like 16, and I used that for a tremendous amount of time. And that became my religion, getting drunk, like hanging out with people. That was my religion for a long time. And it wasn't until about, was it like 2018, give or take, I started reading, books like The Power of Your Subconscious Mind. And I made a connection. So if you start to really research the subconscious mind and all of the different serious scientific studies behind it, look at Carl Jung's material and stuff like that. Like for me, I made a connection. That is the basis of all religion. That's actually what they say in these books too, is the connection between all different religions. The reason why you can have a religious experience, regardless of what religion you follow or spiritual teaching, is because it's inside of your own mind that this connection exists. And the simple belief in this higher power starts to reconnect you to that higher power. If you believe you're, experiencing God through any of these texts, you're going to experience God through these texts. And that's why I believe that like God can be found in literally every single religion. There is no one religion that's better than the other. And I think that's been one of humanity's problems since the beginning of time, is like, dude, throughout our history, you like want to know the reason why people were killing each other the most, it seems, is because of religion. And that to me is crazy. It's like we're killing each other because my God is better than yours. And that's one of the reasons that I have stepped away from religion in the past, and the exclusion of everybody because, oh, you guys think, look, and act differently than me, so I'm going to exclude you from my religion because you're of the devil. And that kind of crap is crazy. It alienates everybody from the experience. So I always felt alienated by people who were Christian. I got into the rock and the metal, and I was always told that was devil music. I was going to hell. And you start to realize that hell is just a place they use to scare people into going to church. If it is real, it is real. But personally, I believe in God. I believe that there is like an afterlife, heaven, if you will. But I don't believe that you're going to go to hell simply because you don't believe this particular one religion. And, shoot me for that if you want, but it is what it is. Like my mind has been open by reading different texts, I'm trying to understand what everybody believes. Like, I'm not going to accept just one single religion. And I think that could help a lot of people, honestly, by trying to tell this type of story, to know that you can actually be open-minded. Like, at the end of the day, if you're out there trying to be a positive person, trying to have a connection with the divine without hurting anybody, with that kind of stuff, you're on the right track. You know what I mean? That's what, in reality, Jesus was trying to teach when you really listen to the meaning behind what he was teaching. Literally being of service to others, helping people out when they need help. Like, you don't need all the dogma. You really don't. But I think that's part of the reason why a lot of people fall away from it, is because of that kind of stuff. I did pull up some of the common reasons why people leave religious beliefs behind. One of them is intellectual dissonance. I like that word. Big word, you know what I mean? So scientific contradictions. As science evolves, like, people find that religious belief conflict with scientific knowledge, which essentially it does. And that's a whole nother question to talk about. Questions about the nature of God, the existence of evil, or the meaning of life may not be satisfactorily answered by religious teachings. And that's a tough one. Like, people ask the question, why does evil exist? Why doesn't God just stamp out evil? And personally, I think this can be answered by the fact that if you think of God in the traditional religious sense, then this is like, holy crap, he's just letting this happen. But if you think of God as literally the source, the universe itself, that's what I believe. I believe that God is quite literally the universe itself. And whatever you want to believe, that's on you. But I think that essentially all of us are echoes of this infinite consciousness experiencing itself. And in that reality, nothing is being allowed to happen. It just exists. That's the way things are. You know what I mean? And again, a lot of people get up in arms over this kind of stuff, and that's fine. But this is my personal belief. You know what I mean? That's what I think. I think if you think much bigger than we currently think, like, it explains a lot of different things. Like for instance, the argument between creation and evolution. I think that it's both. I think that the universe was created and it evolved. And I obviously, think that, there's holes in the evolution story. There's holes in the creation story. No matter which way you look at it, you know what I mean? There's holes in both. But it's interesting. I will never be a closed-minded person. That's never something I can be. Like, I've read too many freaking books on these subjects to think that any one version of our history or life is the truth, because it can't be. Nobody truly knows because nobody was there. You know what I mean? All we could do is take information from bits and pieces all over the world and put it together and see what we got. And the Bible is a good source for that stuff. The Bhagavad Gita is a good source for that. Like, hell, the Quran, all these different religious texts, man, good sources of stuff to read. But I think that you should expand your freaking mind. I think that you should think outside the box. Again, religion keeps you trapped in boxes. But so another real big one that reasons people leave religious beliefs behind is societal and cultural factors. So exposure to diverse beliefs. So if you've been, let's give an example of what do you call those? The people that be freaking horse and buggy. Good Lord. Not the Mennonites, but man, the struggle is real here. Oh my goodness. Anyway, the people that be living the old school lifestyle. I don't know if it's Mennonites, whatever. Super religious people don't have access to the outside world. Say they start to meet people who are, diverse thinking than them, or think differently, or believe in different stuff. Maybe they start to take on those beliefs. You know what I mean? Like, oh, it's like, holy crap, there's more to life than what I got going on here. Man, what the hell? Amish. That's the word I was looking for. Holy crap, the struggle is real out here. And it's 150 degrees in this house, I swear to God. We've been getting hot in Washington. Another one, since I bombed on that last one, personal growth and development. some maturation of beliefs. As people mature, they develop new perspectives or values. This is the truth. And if you are not growing mentally, you are not changing your perspective over time based on information that you take in, you are literally trapped in a loop. And that's what can happen if you focus all your attention on just the one text. I'm not going to think outside the Bible, right? You are falling victim to a trap. You need to be able to understand people from a different perspective. And you can't do that if you only base your life around one singular source text. It's just the facts, man. I'm not saying that you shouldn't believe in God and you shouldn't, read the Bible, learn what it says, understand what it says, but you also need to put into practice a lot of these things from that Jesus was trying to teach, help other people, try to understand people, feed the sick. I don't know. But anyway, this was actually kind of cool. I like talking about this. We'll talk about this again next week. This is good. I actually want to have guests on and talk about, I've been trying to get my buddy Bob, if you will, to talk about, his fall from grace, or the, grace of God, whatever you want to call it. And it's just interesting, man. It's interesting to hear people's stories and why they fell away and maybe what it is that could bring them back. And I will say, I don't think anybody should be down on themselves for falling away from God for a little bit. You know what I mean? Go out there, seek out some information. See if a lot of the information that you seek out brings you back to that source. Because in all honesty, dude, I know that there's someone out there looking out for me, because I've experienced too many freaking things in my life to not think that. I've had times where I should have been dead. I've had times where I've had people come out of nowhere to help me out. And I believe that's divine intervention. I believe that somebody's out there looking out for me. And whatever that is, I don't know. But anyway, I hope you all have a wonderful day. And remember that you are worth more than you know. And this is a good day.